Hey guys. Well, we all know inflation's really high right now. Prices have gone up a lot in the last few years. The job market's also looking pretty dim at the moment. So I researched how we can save some money. On an average household income of $78,770, which is up to date as of 2025, for an estimated take home pay of about $67,552, you could save up to $37,199 by following these tips. So here we go. Let's get started. On finances, creating a detailed budget, setting clear financial goals. You could save up to $1,083 a month or $12,996 a year by using a budget and setting goals. So just being aware of how you spend your money and setting clear goals for that money can save you a huge amount, $12,996. Also included in that is building an emergency fund, automating your savings so that you transfer a little bit each month into a savings account, avoiding unnecessary debt, especially credit cards and payday loans and high interest debt, and then downsizing where necessary. If you live in large and you don't really have the finances to support it, downsizing can be another way. So that's the first section about just managing your finances. The next section has to do with housing. Now, while I can't offer specific savings on housing, I'm just going to read you off some statistics. The average household size is 2.5 people in the US. Average bedrooms is about 2.8 bedrooms per home. The median rent for a 3-bedroom in 2025 is $2,380 a month, and the median mortgage for a 3-bedroom in 2025 is $2,084 a month. Now, food is a big area where we can save some serious money because food honestly can be done in so many different ways. Some people eat out all the time, some people cook in, some do a mixture of both. Some people are addicted to their coffees and Dutch Brothers drinks and all those kind of things. Some people make everything at home. So let's go over some statistics here. By my calculations, you can save up to $747 a month or $8,970 a year just by skipping the restaurants and eating at home. You can save an additional $158 a month or $1,900 a year just by skipping out on the coffees and drinks that you might get at the kiosks and making those at home. So the average grocery cost for 3 people in 2025 for a 3-person household in the US was $1,200 a month. Average food waste for that same 3-person household was $200 a month. So they're throwing away on average almost a sixth of what they buy in raw food and groceries. And the average family of 3 spends $984 a month or $11,808 on buying out food and drinks. And the average cost of a home meal is $5 a meal per person versus $17 a meal per person at a restaurant. So meal planning, planning ahead what your meals are going to be for the next few days, cooking at home, investing in just some good pots and pans and some cooking skills, packing a lunch to work instead of buying, and reducing that food waste. Altogether, $8,970 a year on food and restaurants and $1,900 a year on coffee and drinks. So that's over $10,000, almost $11,000 a year right there on food. Let's move on to energy. Now, for energy, this doesn't tend to be the biggest bill for most people. I'm estimating you could save about $8 a month or $96 a year by adjusting your thermostat and just sort of adjusting how you dress around the house for the temperature. So some people will crank up the AC and then put on a sweatshirt, or they'll crank up the heat and then dress down in shorts and a t-shirt. You can adjust a little of that. Dress a little warmer in the winter, dress a little cooler in the summer, maybe not use the AC and heat as much, but really there's only so far you can go with that. So I'm calculating about $96 a year you could save by reducing energy usage, adjusting your thermostat, turning down the heat and the AC, and dressing appropriately for the weather. Transportation is another big opportunity where you can save some money. I'm estimating you could save $1,417 a month, or about $5,004 a year, by buying used vehicles instead of new. So buying used vehicles, getting it inspected before you go ahead with any purchase, make sure that it's in good condition, maintaining that vehicle, doing all your oil changes and regular maintenance. You'll get lower payments on used vehicles, lower overall cost, lower insurance costs, lower taxes. The typical repairs on a used car, even though the repairs will probably be a little more than what you would spend on a new car, it'll definitely pay off because the amount you'll spend on repairs is far lower than the amount you'd spend on new car payments. And then you could also try carpooling with friends if you live in an area where you're close enough to friends that you could carpool. Public transportation might be an option for you depending on where you live. Biking to work depending on your climate. Around here where I live, the trails aren't close enough to me, but I would love to bike to work. Just the trails would take probably an hour just for me to get to the trail before I could even follow it to work. So not really an option for some people, I understand that. And then limiting unnecessary travel and planning your errands to reduce trips. So that way you're not making a trip to the grocery store and then a trip to go get gas, and a trip to do this and a trip to do that. If you kind of plan out your trips ahead of time, you might be able to get them all done in one or two. Just reduce the number of trips. Now on to purchases. So the average American household spends around $710 a year on major appliances and $800 a year on smartphones. We could save up to $400 of that on the appliances by delaying upgrades and using older models. And we could save up to $533 a year on smartphones by delaying our upgrades and using older models as well. So delaying upgrades and buying used has made a huge difference in my own finances. I'm typically using a phone that's at least 2 to 3 years old. Sometimes I'll let it go 4 or 5 years before I upgrade it. And of course you don't have the newest features, but these days even a 3-year-old phone has pretty good features in it. Plus, if you're just in the habit of doing that, then even last year's features feel brand new to you. So after a while, you get used to it and you're not really missing out on a whole lot. Avoid impulse buying. So when you see something advertised on sale, usually the word sale is usually just really a marketing tactic. I mean, sales go on all year round. You'll typically see a company advertise biggest sale, of the year, or summer sale, or this holiday sale, that holiday sale. If you check back in another 30, 45 days, you'll probably see another sale almost identical to it. So don't feel pressured into impulse buying. The fear of missing out it can really get you, so don't fall into that trap. Learn to be content with what you have. This is something that can save you a ton of money if you just look around at what you have and be thankful for it. If it works, if it gets the job done, try to stick with it a little longer without replacing it and buying new. You can shop around for internet service. Depending on the area you live in, there might be other options for cheaper internet. Shop around for cell service for sure. Cell service is very competitive. And I know for me, combining the own your own phone that I just mentioned, buying your used smartphone for a lot cheaper, will also qualify you for cheaper cell phone plans, because a lot of the new phones come with plans that are expensive, and those plans include like a subsidy for the phone. So say you get a $60 a month plan with a free new phone. The phone's not really free. They're just building $20 or $30 a month into your cell phone plan payment to pay for that phone that they so-called gave you for free. When you do bring your own phone, you can usually get the same cell phone plan, the same data, same service for half the price, because you're not paying for the subsidy of the phone. So you get cheaper cell phone plans when you own your own equipment. Next section is subscriptions. You want to make sure that you keep track of those subscriptions, know where your money's going. The average American household of 3 spends about $90 a month or $1,080 a year on subscriptions. And you could save up to $90 a month or $1,080 a year by canceling or reducing some of those subscriptions. It might be streaming services, cloud storage, delivery services like Prime, and software. Those are some examples of subscriptions that might just add up without you noticing it. So keep an eye on those and check your statements each month and see what subscriptions. You might be surprised what you find. Vacations is another area that Americans tend to spend a lot on. Now, I don't personally spend a lot on vacations. I'm not really big into traveling, but the statistics show that the average cost for a 1-week vacation for a family of 3 is in the range of $4,000 to $6,000 when you factor in all the expenses like airfare, lodging, food, and activities. You could save $167 a month or $2,000 a year per person by replacing expensive travel with local trips. So you can still leave some money in the budget for vacations, but instead you could do things like staycations. You could just stay locally and do camping trips, visit the lake, go hiking on some trails. You could visit some state forests, national forests, state parks and national parks, museums, caves, zoos. Could visit some relatives, go to like a cheaper theme park, obviously not the big ones that cost hundreds of dollars admission fees, but some of the smaller ones are like 30, 40, 50 bucks admission fees. They can be some great alternatives to spending thousands of dollars on expensive vacations with airfare and hotels and all that kind of stuff. So clothing would be our next major topic. The average American household spends between $1,400 and $1,800 annually on clothing. You could save up to $125 a month or $1,500 a year buying some clothing used. Obviously, you can't buy all your clothing used, but some of it you can get really good deals at thrift shops. So I've even been to thrift stores where I found brand new stuff hanging on the rack with the tag still on it. So you can get some really good deals if you shop around in thrift stores. And Facebook Marketplace and other online just kind of local marketplaces are good places to find used clothes. Now there's some things that I won't buy used, and obviously you need good quality too, so buy quality when it matters. For example, boots, coats, things that need to be durable and heavy duty, I usually buy new, or at least I'll buy lightly used, really good quality. And then buy cheap when it doesn't matter. You know, t-shirts, doesn't matter how good quality my t-shirt is, it's just going to go underneath my other shirts. It's going to get washed and worn out. Nobody's going to really see it that much, so they'll fade over time. I buy cheap t-shirts, right? So next section here is entertainment. Americans spend a lot on entertainment. On average, the average American household spends around $3,635 a year on entertainment. You could save up to $167 a month or $2,000 a year by replacing expensive entertainment with local fun and events. So fewer movies and paid events like going out a lot, and more game nights, just going for walks with your partner, your spouse, your kids, hiking, bike riding, yard games, plant a garden, and community events, church events often have free things going on. Reading books, visiting local parks, public pools, backyard barbecues, all things that don't cost a lot, and they save you money, and they also build relationships. So those can be great alternatives to expensive nights out and activities. Fitness is the next category. So you can save $60 a month or $720 a year on gym memberships by working out at home. That's personally what I do. I stay in pretty good shape, and I haven't had a gym membership in decades. So you can cancel your gym memberships, work out at home, buy a used weight set, a used weight bench, a used treadmill, a used stationary bike. Those type of things will pay themselves off really quick. Average gym memberships are, $40, $50, $60 a month per person. So it pays for itself pretty quick when you buy your own equipment. And if you don't have a lot of space for equipment, you can just buy a set of dumbbells, weights, and have those at your house. Lift weights in a lot of different ways you can do resistance training, and just use gravity to your advantage. So traditional things like push-ups, sit-ups, jumping jacks, burpees, and then you can use outdoors for a lot of exercise: running, hiking, walking, swimming, depending on where you live. So you really don't need a gym membership to stay in shape. I know that it can be motivating to have all the people around you and all the equipment options, but it's not necessary. And if your budget is tight, this is one area where you can save a little bit. All right, now let's talk about childcare. I know this can be a sensitive topic, and there's some strong opinions around childcare, but I'll tell you what I found. You might want to reconsider childcare depending on how many kids you have and how much you're paying for it, because the average daycare cost in the USA is about $1,474 a month per child. The median wage in the USA is $5,142 a month, or $4,301 take home. So what I'm getting at is there's 2 kids per household on average, which costs about $2,948 a month worth of daycare, and the net take home after you pay that child care is only $1,353. So what I'm saying is, based on the average wage that you'll make by sending the kids to daycare, 2 kids, you only take home about $1,350 more. Now, that might make or break your budget, may not, but after 2 kids, your net income actually declines. So you'll make less by going to work if you're sending more than 2 kids to daycare. On average. Obviously, I don't know everyone's daycare costs, I don't know everyone's wages, but on average, based on an average income and an average daycare expense, you will actually lose money by sending 3 kids or more to daycare and going to work. So there are some possible exceptions, possible tax credits that you might be able to get per child per year, but in general, carefully consider the pros and cons of sending the kids to daycare. And I know it's necessary sometimes, not trying to shame anybody for that, but do the math and figure out if you're actually better off possibly staying home with the kids. Maybe one of the parents can stay home with the kids. So last section here is time. Another one I'm gonna get under your skin with this maybe, but how do you spend your spare time? The average person in America, at least, spends 2 hours a day on social media, 3 hours a day watching videos, and 1 hour a day on gaming. And before you say you're not a gamer, that includes cell phone games and those kind of mindless tapping games. So 2 hours a day social media, 3 hours a day on videos, and an hour a day on gaming. That adds up to 6 hours a day of entertainment and screen time, on top of whatever other screen time you might spend. So when you say that you don't have time for cooking, planning, managing your finances, exercising, education, reading books and learning, and other constructive activities, are you being honest with yourself? I'm just saying, okay? So I hope these tips help you. There's a lot of money to be saved here. This was just based on an average household income of $78,000 and a potential savings of $37,000. I know you might not be able to do all of these, but even if you partially implement them, you could find some really good savings. And then when you do, if you're able to free up some of this cash, you can invest it, and then it can really start working for you. So that's a video for another day, but if you can free up some of this cash, build an emergency fund, and then start investing it, that money can actually grow without you having to work for every penny of it. So I hope that helps you guys, and if you have any questions, comments, if you got something out of this, please please like the video and share with someone who could get a lot out of it. Thank you. Have a good one.